Welcome to Talking with Tech. I'm Rachel Madel, joined by Chris Bouguet, and we have a special guest today, Michaela. Michaela's our audio engineer. How you doing, Michaela?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So Michaela is here because you're a clinical student, right? Or you're a graduate student.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I am doing my placements in the schools currently.
Exactly.
You're working with sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
So you're working with like actual kids. You've gotten to
Yeah.
the point where you're not just in classrooms anymore and learning content. You are actually, you're trying to practice with actual families and actual kids and working with other educators and other people, right?
Exactly. And it's really interesting because this is the fall following COVID. So I actually have an in-person placement where I get to work with kiddos face to face, which is unusual.
Definitely. So what brings you in today? What are we talking about? What's going on? Why are you here?
Well, I have questions. I've been working with several kiddos. I have a couple of nonverbal kiddos, and we've been using a variety of AAC, but I have one kiddo specifically who has been giving cough drop through the district. That's kind of what our district does. And he also has learned a lot of signs and is also working on speech. So we have 3 modes of communication. And I'm trying to figure out how to balance my intervention time with this kiddo in a way that best helps, the whole program, the whole like building language and speech and like just everything. So I'm looking for advice on how to manage multiple modalities.
Well, let me ask you a question, Michaela. Like, give me some context as to like how the student is currently using language. Like, give me like your last session. Like, what kinds of things were you working on? What kinds of things was he saying?
So my supervising SLP and we kind of split the session, or we do multiple sessions within the week. Mm-hmm. I've been doing a lot of cough drop with him, which has been mostly aided language input, but she has been, my SLP has been working with CVs, basically trying to build some functional speech, but we're at the CV level right now. So, and it's limited. There's a chance that there's some apraxia happening because his vowels are a little, they're imprecise, but there's also a lot of motor difficulties as well. He's not always turning on and off his voice for the right consonants. And then on top of that, we know he's doing some sign, but they're very approximated. So that's where we're at. And I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Well, so I want to clarify. CV means consonant vowel, right? For any maybe parent that's listening, or someone's like, "What's a CV? Is that something you like a resume?" No, it's it's consonant vowel. Okay. And then the second thing I wanted to ask was, or talk about is, can you ballpark the grade level or age? Would it be fair to say that the student is kind of an emergent communicator or an early learner?
Yes.
This is not like a high school student that we're talking about, right?
No. Emergent communicator. We know that he has about 30 signs he knows. We know there's other language. There's some other language. His receptive is on the, through testing is pretty high. So we think it's more of an expressive difficulty than... Which it all comes down to that motor. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Michaela.
Because he's done, we've done standardized testing with him, and his receptive language is closer to his peers than his expressive. So,
you say other language. Do you mean that that English could be a second language for him?
No second language. I'm thinking other language, different modalities.
Gotcha. Well, you mean like how he expresses himself?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, and this is really classic apraxia. like severe apraxia, when you have high receptive language and really severely lowered expressive language. And so these are tricky cases to work on, because you do want to support, especially a motor planning approach to the speech component, especially for an early learner. But how do we incorporate AAC? I think that's kind of like the crux of the crux of your question, right? Is like, what do I do like when I have like lots of different things I need to do? Like, how do you maximize your time?
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing that stood out to me was that he has about 30 signs. That's actually a lot. I mean, a lot of the students that I work with, they might have like 2 or 3, and they don't use them in the right context appropriately. So again, it's these are all leading us to high-tech AAC, which luckily this student has. I work with a lot of students who they're not even there yet, right? Like they haven't been introduced to a high-tech system. So I'm going to ask another question. What has been the hesitation with perhaps doing all of the things? Like go ahead.
Yeah, I know. No, I see. And I feel like we should be doing all the things. I'm trying to figure out how to balance or how to help all of the other individuals communicating with him, balance this too. Because the question becomes like, do you sit there and do you model the sign, or do you choose to model the speech generating device? And I don't know. The other thing with his signs is that the number 30, I think, is a self-report or parent report, and there's only about 2 that he does spontaneously.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So he'll say, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were going to describe more.
So, I mean, he says help, because we do a lot of activities within the classroom, and we do pull out and we also do push in right now. So we're seeing a lot of interaction in the classroom. We see help a lot, and we see slide a lot. So those are definitely, and those are without prompting. Sometimes help also needs a prompt depending on the situation, but we've seen it without.
And when you say you've seen it, you mean you see him sign those?
Yeah, I see. The teacher will be doing planning time and asking like, where are you going to go play? And he'll say slide with his, with sign, and it's awesome. But
you said earlier how you're using Cough Drop, and it's primarily you doing aided language stimulation with him. Tell us about that a little bit. What is that like when you're with him, and his use of the device, and your use of it? Let's just talk about that.
Okay. It was actually really funny. So this student had seen Cough Drop before March happened, but I think it was only a month or so. It was pretty, the student got an account, and then shortly after, our schools closed. So the student hadn't seen it again until August. And so I brought it out, and we have I think it's a 4x5 board on a iPad mini. So it's really small. And we're sitting there, I'm modeling a few things, and I think I was modeling in and on at snack time, and the student kept going up to the corner where no is, and like not touching it, but just pointing to it like no. And then she'd go, sorry, he would go back and do his thing. And it was really kind of funny, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're telling me you don't want to do this. So that was the first week.
Okay.
But since then, we've changed some voices on it to a little boy voice. I actually used my 3-year-old son. He just sounds adorable. And then on top of that, we've had other students show engagement in the device. And suddenly this kiddo, he was interested in it. So that we've gone from him pointing to the corner where it says no to he's been pressing, what did we do yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was want all done on. I think we were doing on, could have been in, but we've done both. So he's definitely exploring it and using it a little bit in these very sit down situations where I've done aided language input, which is at the table with the, our small group of like 4 or 5 kiddos. And yeah, that's been cool to see a progression there.
I have another question.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about this student, we have some verbal approximations, we have some signs, we have the device. What would you say the student's primary mode of communication is spontaneously on their own?
So far, it's not the device. I would say it's pretty equal between the 2 signs and then the him using his voice. But I think that's because the teacher in the classroom knows that that's something that was the first thing that has been worked on. And so she's kept that solid. So the kiddos, the teacher will ask yes or no questions. And then when she's asking this little guy a question, she will either wait for him to use his voice so he can say, yeah. Or she will prompt him if he doesn't. She's been doing really great at giving him that wait time. But that's basically yes is the only thing I've seen. He doesn't have like verbal no yet. And the 2 signs. So it's like, those are the 2.
Well, can I jump in and ask, if he was hungry, what would he do? If he wanted her attention, what would he do?
Sit there.
He would just sit there. He's not using any sort of gestures or get up or pull her. Or...
Not so much gestures. There's joint gaze. So if he would like the food that's in front, he'll be looking at the food and then looking at the teacher. And then he might look over at me and, whoever he knows will help him. Or he might reach for it to try to get it. But I think it seems to me like speech is hard.
Totally. Like,
and
yes.
And he's not
Absolutely.
very loud. There's not a lot of power behind it. So he can't even really use it as a way to get the teacher's attention over the volume of the other kiddos. So that's what I see. I'm
gonna ask another question. The reason I asked about what is his primary mode of communication is because I really believe that we need to start with that, right? Like we need to support what a student's showing us. But part of the problem is he's saying yes, or he may have other approximations, but maybe communication partners don't understand. Like, grandma who comes from out of town is like, huh? So the whole point of having AAC is a backup means to communicate a message. And oftentimes, sign and speech are easier because a child has an idea and they try to communicate it fast, right? And so AAC is kind of this extra thing. But of course, it's an extra thing, but once kids get used to it and start using it and see everyone else in their, environment using it, it becomes more commonplace. So my next question to you is, when he, answers yes, what is a way that you could support the device in that interaction where he's verbally saying something? What do you think is a really good way that you could support AAC at the same time?
Well, I could do the basic Ada language input of you said yes, but I feel like receptively, he might even be able to take some expansion upon that. Yes, you want, cookies, or, you want that kind of thing. I feel like that would probably be the best way to kind of say, yes, you used your voice. Great job. But here's also another way to say it.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree that the AAC or the device is a tool for communication repair and breakdown too. And I think that's something we need to really highlight for our paraeducators, our teacher, our parents, because that's another difficult part, is adding that in the classroom. It's not there, so they're not already used to it, I guess.